Hello, my name is Cuyler O'Connor, and I'm a vocational deacon serving at St. Bartholomew's Episcopal Church in Pittsboro, North Carolina. Welcome to another episode of the Seekin Deacon. We are joined by Bishop Michael Curry. This is Season 3, Episode 5.
I remember in that course we read Kwame Nkrumah's Africa Must Unite, which was just a whole so anyway, that course was transformative.
So that kind of opened your whole world.
That really did, because I began
yeah.
to see that the possibility of this faith that I had been given, by a profoundly old style Christian grandmother and family, and the work of justice, of being part of transforming the world from the nightmare it often is. I remember Elie Wiesel's Night, from the nightmare into something closer to God's dream. All of that began to bubble up, and I started making some connections in my head, in my soul, and then one thing led to another and another, and I remember talking with Dusty McDonald, who was chaplain at the college, and conversations with him. I was kind of like Nicodemus coming to Jesus at night when nobody was looking, and conversations with Dusty over the years, or over time, really became formative. And then eventually, I did, even though I did not articulate it as call, I didn't, but I knew that a faith vocation lived out could actually have profound and significant social consequences. And I wanted to be part of that. And so eventually I went to seminary. And in those days, they would send people to seminary who weren't completely sure of what they're doing. Right now, we want them to be sure,
Right. If somebody could do something with it down the road if they didn't want to be a quote priest or whatever, right?
Yeah, you go run a foundation or something.
Right.
You could do something. But I was headed on a religious vocation. It wasn't clear what that would look like. I didn't, but anyway, went off and eventually was ordained and have been ordained. I've been ordained now I was ordained in 1978. So I don't know how many years that is now, but anyway, however many years that is. And like Maya Angelou says in one of her books, quoting an old Negro spiritual, I wouldn't take nothing from a journey now. It's been up, it's been down, been mostly good, but it's been some tough times. And you know what? I wouldn't take nothing from a journey now. I would do it again.
Love it. So the when you talk about the your whole world opening up and the for lack of a better term, some of the theology and the philosophy and all of those things, I'm sure there were times where, like Nicodemus, there was some wrestling you had to do, right? I mean, did you sit in that space where you wrestled with some things of, well, I've always been taught this, but maybe this is another way to look at it or another angle, or because I think in our world right now, we all, with social media, with all these things, I mean, you and I can connect like this, which there's some huge advantages to it, but there's also, I think this, and especially see it in our younger generation, but where there's also this healthy stepping away and just being present. And, but I'm curious, maybe if you ever felt like there's some yin and some yang, or some things that you wrestled with that helped you along your journey, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, I on some level I did wrestle with whether or not the Episcopal Church was a context to exercise a vocation.
Sure.
I wrestle was probably too dramatic. I don't know.
Right.
Honestly,
it's a term I think we like to use when it maybe not be that drastic, right? But maybe it's more of a push or pull, right?
That's a good way to say. Yeah. So that's what's going. and I did wonder, is this the right place? Is this the right context? And um, my father was kind of wise when I talked with him about that. He said, well, you have to find what is home for you.
Yeah.
Um, and he said that was what his journey led him to the Episcopal Church, which was really home for him, even though he didn't know it.
Sure.
He had no connection until he met my mother. He had no connections with an Episcopal Church, but and I mean, I talked to other folk over time. Like I said, I don't think I was really going anywhere, but it was enough for me to question, would I have the freedom to exercise the kind of ministry I hope to have?
Would be.
And I did meet folk who, I remember there's a priest named James Woodruff who
Okay.
was, I mean, he was like an adult when I was a kid. I mean,
Sure.
but he became a priest, and he had been involved in the formation of what was called UBCL, Union of Black Clergy and Laity, which now is Union of Black Episcopalians. And that group and Jim Woodruff, they were a lot more militant in those days.
Sure.
I mean, it's just in the, I guess it's context
Yeah.
that he was chaplain at Fisk. And Nashville was an epicenter of SNCC, Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, and other groups. And Father Woodruff was involved in all that stuff. And was a member of SNCC, and was involved and worked with Stokely Carmichael and other folk like that. So I knew him. I mean, not intimately because he was years older than I am, but actually by the time I got to college, I got a chance to talk to him. I remember we brought him to campus,
Oh,
and
wow. Okay.
we brought James Cone to campus. There were monies that students could bring, interesting people. We brought William Stringfellow to campus.
Wow. Nice.
And so I got to hear these voices. I mean, I went to Hobart William Smith College. That was a wonderful place to hear voices you never would have heard before. And many of them were voices of Christian folk who were really living out the vocation of following the way of Jesus and actually making a public difference and a social difference. And so anyway, so I got, especially at junior year and by senior year, I did an honors thesis on King's nonviolence. And so I was forming I was clearly forming. Again, we didn't use that word. I didn't know that word, but,
Right. Yeah.
but that's what was going on. And so there were questions like, do you stay and exercise whatever your vocation is in the Episcopal Church? That was a real question.
Sure.
It wasn't an agonizing one. I mean, I really kind of came to the conclusion, especially having seen Father Woodruff and other folk like him, who were very much active and involved in the movement. They were clearly Episcopal priests, and unashamedly so.
Yeah.
And so in fact, I'm reading Jim Lawson's book. I think it's right here, Nonviolent. It's his
Yeah.
autobiography. And Lawson was Methodist. People didn't have to leave whatever their denominational home was. But they exercised it out of the womb of that faith, with faith guiding. And so I found that was I'd say the depth of real wrestling.
Yeah.
And then I eventually went off the seminary and was ordained deacon here in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, at St. Stephen's there.
Okay.
So that's sort of and then there are all sorts of adult issues and journeys and that kind of stuff, but
Sure.
that's a little bit.
So, I think what's resonated so well, I know that you've written and seen your movie about love and yeah, and matter of fact, I saw that film the night before I was ordained. So
Did you really? The night
yes,
before you ordained?
yeah. So I went and saw that here at the theater over there on Glenwood on Lynn Road. And because that night before you're nervous and all these things are going on, my wife's like, you know what, you and I just need to step away and go watch a movie. And I've got a
Yeah.
perfect what we're going to go see. So we went to see the movie. I saw some friends from St. Ambrose and other churches, St. Michael's, other places. So
Yeah.
it was quite lovely. But I guess, I know I do, and I know our world does, but and it's a constant, and it will be until we leave this planet. But is ways in which we can spread love, but also help people find love, because there's that other four-letter word called hate, and that seems to a lot of times get in the way. And maybe I want to pontificate with you on ways in which we can all try to love each other better or more or spread it more, right? Because I think we all have the intent, no matter what our faith tradition, to get out of bed and do more of it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and I do think, I think you make a good point. I do think that on one level, hate and all of its ancillaries requires intentionality and a commitment to counter it and to find, as Paul says, a more excellent way.
Thank you for taking the time to join today. Until next time, let's keep seeking, for wherever the Spirit leads us, continue the journey, my friends. Blessings.
This has been another episode of the Seekin Deacon, hosted by Cuyler O'Connor. Episodes are produced and edited by me, Robert Joins. We would also like to thank the Episcopal Diocese of North Carolina. New episodes are released weekly. Make sure to subscribe anywhere podcasts are available. This has been a Several Arrows Later production. Thank you for listening.